I should have shared the screen on that whole thing. I didn't want to interrupt. Oh, that was the beautiful John Daversa, and that was the Progressive Big Band, and of course that was the Beatles. And I love her. Beautiful, John.
Thank you. I
Hi,
appreciate it.
John.
Hey,
John
good
Daversa, ladies
afternoon.
and gentlemen. How much fun is this, man? This is the best thing about the whole COVID thing for me.
Yeah, we were talking about it before. It's such tremendous challenges right now. So many uh, hardships and question marks, and we don't even know how this is going to affect moving forward the next year, the next day, the next month, the next 10 years. But there's also, looking at, intense challenges and knowing that on the opposite side there are intense opportunities. And so it's definitely created, I'll just speak for myself, it's created an opportunity to really look at the things that are important in my life, and the things that maybe aren't so important anymore, and walk through the fire and let those burn off, the things that no longer serve. Some of those dreams that I had 10 years ago that I was still going after just because I was just walking that direction, I had to stop and say, you know what, those are dreams that I had from 10 years ago. Let's slow down and really get to what's most meaningful, what's most intentional, what's most purposeful, uh, for this moment. And a lot of that has to do with family. That's where I, put a lot of my focus. I said, okay, let's look a little closer there, and of course the music that I want to make.
Yeah, it's really interesting. That's really well put. I like the image of walking through the fire and letting the extra burn off. Yeah, it's really, I mean, of course, you get into conversations like this every day, right? But yeah, the time is, time has always been obviously the moment. But I think while we're rushing through our daily life, we don't really think about that. So we're just we're distracted, right? We're distracted with the things that we've set into motion, as you said.
Yeah.
And this now, it's like that distraction doesn't exist. So we're really, uh, we really have the opportunity to look around and see, I've talked to people like, why are they playing? They're asking, you know, what is their purpose for playing?
Yeah.
And of course, there's a lot of people who they don't really feel like picking up their axe, you know,
Mm,
they just don't feel like doing it. They don't
mm,
feel creative in that way.
mm,
There's other things, and it's not that I mean, of course, we're all missing playing live, and especially, but it's not really that. It's something else. It's this somehow this kind of creative urge to. There's other things. I guess maybe we realize there's other things in life.
yeah. And there are seasons that you go through too,
Yeah.
and this provides perhaps a season of going within, to find those higher frequencies, to really find out why it is that you play. Or maybe, maybe you've played, maybe that's enough, and it's time to really find wherever that mojo is. It might be in a different place.
Yeah.
um, and those are hard conversations to have with the self. Really, really difficult, but this is the moment to have those difficult self conversations, to really become that phoenix going through the fire, no
Yeah.
matter what.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so true. Whew. Heavy duty, man. I actually just bought some cheese from an old student of mine. Lovely, lovely, lovely person. Beautiful singer,
Mm,
and she's been making cheeses for at least 5 or 7 years, like real special
mm,
vegetarian handmade. And you slice it, and it melts in your mouth like it's like warm butter or something. It's really amazing. And she just, she said she still wants to sing, but she really decided, I'm going to go for this because she loves it. It's something that she really is drawn to, and it's a
That's
good way.
everything.
Yeah, yeah. And it's a good way to make an income.
Hmm.
So, well, John,
Right on.
let's
Yes,
start
tell me.
let's start from the back and go to the front maybe. I
How
don't know.
about maybe we could start with your awesome shirt? I already told you that's like it brightened up my afternoon, and I appreciate that. The sun is here, the light is here. I feel that much more cheery, and I appreciate that. Here comes
Well,
the sun.
I guess I just felt like I was doing it for you. I felt like John wants something bright.
Oh, if you did it for me, you did it for all of us. We all need it.
Thank you.
Hmm.
Uh, so you've been gone from LA for a long time. How long has it been?
Uh, well, it feels both. It feels like about 20 minutes, and also feels like a lifetime ago at the same time. I've been here in Miami for 7 years now. Starting, it was in the summer, so starting this eighth year. Uh, but of course, I've been coming back to LA
Yeah,
quite often to play and be with my musical family there,
yeah.
whom I miss on a minutely basis. Uh, and now it's actually that's been one of the one of the things that I really miss is I haven't been to LA now since I don't know when the last time, if I was there in February or January, I can't remember,
Yeah.
uh, but I miss playing with my fam out there.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, when I moved from LA, I didn't have any uh, direct blood relatives in LA anymore, and so that I didn't really leave family there, but the family is certainly who I get to make music with every day.
Yeah. I was talking with a drummer, Jack Mouse, yesterday, and he really talked about the musical family. And he went even further. He said, some people are my fathers, my mothers, my
Mm,
aunts, my cousins. It was great. What a great, it was a little deeper in there, to look at the
yeah,
musical family, and it was really true.
yeah.
Who is one of your musical fathers?
Well, my father is one of my musical fathers,
Okay.
Jay Daversa, who
Uh,
he's a brilliant musician uh, himself, trumpet player, and he was a basically a child prodigy. He started playing when he was trumpet when he was about 4.5 years old, I think. So the legend goes, and uh, he they even had a variety show on KTLA. He and
wow.
Bob Crosby and
Oh,
uh,
wow.
the Dixieland. You know what? I have the album here. Hold on.
Oh, wow.
Here it is. This is their album on Capitol Records.
Wow.
Trumpet and Bob Say with the clarinet.
Oh my God.
It's a Dixieland band, and they had this weekly variety show on KTLA
I
where they
love
had
how they're I love how they're so serious in the picture.
it was serious business, and they had guests like Ray Bolger and I don't
Oh,
know who else, uh,
wow.
and then he went on the road with uh, I don't know who he went on the road with a little bit, and
Yeah.
uh, also with Stan Kenton recorded a couple records with Kenton's band, and
Mhm.
then started playing in the studios in L.A. Late
Wow.
'60s, and uh, so anyway, he has been a incredible influence. You know, people always ask if he gave me lessons, and it wasn't ever like that. I think that's so difficult between father and son to
Yeah.
every dynamic is different, but he was always there
Yeah.
uh, for me to ask questions and in the most subtle of ways saying, putting on sketches of Spain and saying, isn't that beautiful how Miles is able to play low like that and with that sound, and just pointing out things, and you know pretending like he wasn't telling me that, and I'm pretending like I'm not listening, but figuring out those dynamics. So I mean, he's been a huge influence. And actually, I was just telling you about this project we just recorded,
Yeah.
which is the concept is all boleros, and the idea was that bolero, it was something that the family would play after dinner. Everybody gets together and plays music in certain cultures, and uh, so I took a lot of songs. I took a few songs of his and one from my grandfather, and two, one from my paternal grandfather, one from my maternal grandfather, and so on. Wrote a song for my wife, for my daughter. So it's all about the family, and then took the elephant in the room and said, that we recorded it during quarantine. So it's called Quarantena, and because we're all home with each other now and really looking at those things. So it was such an honor to get to take a few of his songs and arrange them and honor him with those. So I'd
Lovely.
start with that, Father.
That's pretty powerful.
Hmm.
Yeah, very powerful. Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's really great.
and a lot of them, are in the family, and my mom too. I mean, my mom was a huge musical influence for me. Uh, because she's a musician as well, and she's
What
one
does
of
she
those
play?
everything. She plays classical piano. So I heard that in the house all the time. Chopin and Beethoven and Rachmaninoff, uh, and she also played flute. In school, a very
Hmm.
accomplished flute player, and sang opera at a very high level, and a
Wow.
dancer, and singer, and just a really
Wow.
talented person. And she, for her, music was always a source of joy and a source of connection with other people, a social thing to connect. And so I think I took a lot of that from her influence. So and then the music influences go out in my own family from there. My grandparents were musicians, and beyond that. I could keep going, so stop me.
Well, I was just wondering what you meant by beyond that.
Well, and beyond that, meaning then all the influences of the musics that I've listened to and learned
Oh,
from
yeah, yeah.
you
Well,
know
that,
from Miles Davis to Ornette Coleman to Willie Nelson to Aretha Franklin to
yeah, yeah,
Rachmaninoff, everything.
yeah, yeah. You have quite a large, varied listening background. Yeah, I was a lot more limited, but my dad was a sax player, my mom was a singer, and my two sisters, older sisters, they were twins and they sang and one played piano, so we
Hmm.
immediately grew up around the piano. And um but we were very much into my dad's music, which was big bands and Ella Fitzgerald and that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
And then of course I got into everything. And then when I was at Berkeley, there was just that period of time. It was the 70s, the early 70s, and there was all this richness of music, everything from ECM to Aretha Franklin, and
Hmm.
Woodstock and Motown and
Yeah.
Miles and Blood, Sweat and Tears and Weather Report. And, it
Hmm.
was really a mishmash. But I never got into classical. I never had classical around me
Hmm.
until much, much later, just my own choice. The last record I did, Dreamsville with Larry Kuntz and
Hmm.
Josh Nelson, I my piano tuner would always play a Scarlatti piece after the piano was tuned. And it was in my key
Hmm.
and and it was beautiful. And so I actually got it from him and we recorded it. And Larry took a voice or two and Josh.
Hmm.
And yeah, it was really beautiful. There are some amazingly beautiful pieces and probably things that I've heard over the years but I'd have to turn my attention to it and study it. But yeah, I'm impressed with just the fact that you had so many really strong different things in your musical things in your background.
Yeah, I feel very fortunate to have all of those musics. I mean, I remember, in when I was 4 years old, 4 or 5 years old, my dad had the car with the 8 track, and I remember very vividly like rocking out to songs in the key of life. And that standards record that Willie Nelson put out,
Oh,
Stardust, that I know a lot of people have things to say about that record, but I love the way that Willie Nelson sings those songs. I mean, it just hits me every time. And Earth, Wind and Fire, and and then my mom was bringing classical music and also a lot of Motown into the house, and uh, but then the classical thing too. It didn't really, I went to UCLA to study composition during my undergraduate degree, so
yeah.
that's where I really learned. I was I decided to go there actually because they didn't at that time they didn't have a jazz department. They had a jazz band, but they didn't have a jazz department. But I knew I was going to learn something that I wasn't already immersed in.
Yeah.
And so I got to learn all these names for theory and harmony and chords, that were different names to things I was already hearing, but it gave me a different perspective
Hmm.
on writing and a foundation of counterpoint. For Western harmony, it's just a foundation. So I'm so grateful for that, and I got to really break down and analyze, those Beethoven pieces and Strauss and uh, on and on. Schumann.
Wow, that's good. That's so cool. I've never heard anybody put it like that before. It's cool. It's a cool perspective to tap into. Um, and so before you went to UCLA, what were you doing?
Well, I was in high school. I was in LA. I mean, my first couple of years of high school, I was in Sacramento
Okay.
at a school called Rio Americano High School. Before that, we were living in Oklahoma, actually, in a small
Oh, wow.
where my mom's family was from.
Uh-huh.
It's basically where I remember growing up. I was there from age 7 to 14, even though we lived in Las Vegas for a little bit in the middle there. Uh, and then we moved to Sacramento for a couple of years, and that's where I started really getting into playing in the big band because they had a slam and big band there, and so that that was the cool thing to do. Uh, and then I came down to Hamilton Academy of Music, Hamilton High School, for my last couple of years of high school. And so, at that point, I was pretty immersed in playing trumpet and playing jazz. And I met Justin Morel. I mean, I knew Justin all my life because his dad was a session player, John Morel, and he was friends with my dad. And so we knew each other when we were age 0 until I moved away when I was 7. And then I came back and reconnected with him and went to high school with him. And Mike Elizondo was going to school there at that time, and Trevor Lawrence Jr. Uh, so we all connected and had learned a lot from each other growing up together. And then at that point, that's after high school, I went to UCLA.
Okay.
Hmm.
So, so you were, because you mentioned that it was a different perspective. So had you actually been writing and for not f- or for larger groups or not until you went to UCLA?
Yeah, well, a little bit. I had written. I think I wrote a couple of big band charts. My first big band charts in high school.
Yeah, yeah.
I remember one of them was called Fish Noodles from an experience I had in Japan, and I think I wrote something else too. Uh, but I was writing for the small group quite a bit
Yeah,
already, and so I had you know some knowledge of how to write already.
yeah. Were you did have you had
Pardon me.
have you had the small group basically as a consistent entity all for years, like you'll work on different projects and then come back to the small group?
Hmm. Yeah, I mean it's been different configurations, of course.
Yeah, yeah.
I know after my undergraduate degree, I put together a group that was a trio for a long time. It was
Hmm.
just
Oh, was
trumpet.
that,
Say again.
I think that's like what is that called?
It was a trio. It was just bass drums and me playing trumpet
Oh,
and EVI. I
okay.
called it the Junk Wagon Trio.
Okay.
Those years, that was the mid '90s. We did that for a few years, and it was at the same time that I started the big band because I think I put the first iteration of the big band together in 1996.
You know, the first time I heard you
I don't.
was at the Blue Whale,
Hmm.
and it was a trio of
Hmm.
you and sax, or let's see, what was it called? It was it's one of my favorite records actually. I always every time it comes up, I'm like, oh yeah. I wonder if I can find it. Let me just
Oh, is that with Damon Zick and with it was kind of bass clarinet and guitar and myself, or was it
yeah,
just yeah
right? What
the the
you,
West
you
Side Trio?
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
That was oh my God. Let me
Wow.
see if I have that in my iTunes. I'm just curious. Um but
Yeah, that's after I'd come back from Europe.
uh-huh. Oh really?
Yeah,
That was
because I was in Europe for about 3 years doing a show.
yeah, the West Wind, is that what was it was
I think
called?
it's called the West Side. You know what? I got one right here.
Oh,
I mean, I got the cover. I It's this one. What does it say?
West
Westland. Sorry, Westland
Westland.
Trio.
Yes, that
Yeah.
man. And at the Blue Whale, and it was so beautiful, the music and the musicians and the the space it created. It was real beautiful. And that was the first time I ever saw somebody, and we spoke about this actually, um, put out this tip jar and then give the CDs. You actually said, we want all of you to go away with our music. So we're going to give you a CD. And if you feel like contributing, you can. So I think that's why I got my CD
Oh,
actually.
cool.
And yeah. And so that was also was a new idea for me too, which I had done I did, several times after that, or at least several times. But that was a beautiful trio.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, and Todd Milstein on guitar, Damon Zick on saxophone and bass clarinet. Yeah, that's been a while.
Yeah. And then remember I was booking this weird room over.
Yeah, I remember that.
Remember that weird room?
Where was that? It's like on the west side somewhere, right?
Yeah, it was on the west side, and that room had a life, but not really a jazz life until
Yeah,
for some reason they got a hold of me, and
yeah,
and the stage was really high. It was
yeah,
a rock and roll stage,
yeah,
but you brought the small group in.
yeah,
That was amazing, and we actually were creating a little thing there.
yeah, yeah. We played there a couple times, I think, right?
Yeah,
With the more the later iteration of the JD small band with Gene Coy and Jerry Watts and Zane Carney, Tommy King. Yeah.
yeah. Who was on sax?
Robbie Marshall. Oh,
Oh,
well, I don't
yeah,
know if he was playing during that time. It was Robbie and Cathy Buckingham was involved.
right. I think Robbie at least was in at least one time because I didn't know him and I loved him.
Yeah,
Um,
he's all heart and all intuition and sound.
yeah,
I love how he's just so open. Love
yeah.
to play with him. He's in France now, in Paris, I believe.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Yeah, man, people are just moving. Tom Warrington moved to New Zealand. Did you know Tom
Mm.
Warrington at
Yeah,
all?
of course.
Yeah, so he moved to New Zealand.
Yeah, good.
Wow.
I'm sure he's having a good time.
Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, I just found out about another bass player who used to live here a long time ago named Bob Bowman.
Hmm.
Really great, really beautiful, beautiful bass player. And
Hmm.
he lives in, where did he say? Somewhere in the middle of the country, but up, out, way, way out,
Hmm.
and has a cabin and he drives in for his gigs.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, I mean, choices, right?
Yeah, get yourself a horse. Be done with it.
A horse. Oh, that would
Hmm.
be nice. Yeah. Um, so there's been different probably or maybe not different reiterations of the larger groups. I mean, there's been the big band, and then there's that what we heard coming in. That wasn't the big band. It was an orchestra, right?
Well, that was from the record Kaleidoscope Eyes, music of the
Yeah.
Beatles, and so that was that project was crazy because it was the big band, but
Yeah.
I gave myself the
Oh,
license to write for anything I wanted to. So on that project, I had the big band, of course, but I had it was completely expanded. I had four trombones, but with tuba, and I had a six-piece woodwind and saxophone section, including from bass saxophone to soprano to piccolo, alto, flute, oboe, bassoon, everything. And
wow.
I also had a string section. I had a choir. There were two stars, percussion, uh, singers. It was huge. So yeah, it's big band plus orchestra.
Yeah. I want to hear another one of those, but I just realized I hadn't been looking at the comments. So I like to Abe Pearlstein sends his love,
Oh man, hello Abe,
and Tierney Sutton sends her love.
Tyranny. Ah,
Let's see. Taylor Hatch.
yo Taylor.
He's saying, "Oh, thanks, Taylor." First he said, "John, good to see you," and then he says, "And of course, Kathy." Roland Ascaruns, Neil Rosengarten. Yeah.
The peoples.
Taylor would like to know what's the biggest piece of advice you ever received as you were progressing in music?
Oh, nothing comes to mind from. I mean, from anybody else. It's you know where I'm at right now. I think that you have to really. I'm just speaking for myself. I think that whatever you're doing, you just have to be so intentional about it, so that it has mojo, so that it has life, so that it really is part of the human experience. So just to really know and be intentional about why you're making music, because when you make sound, uh, it actually disturbs silence, right? It disturbs the air, its frequency,
Yeah.
and so that frequency is charged with whatever the intention is, with whatever the purpose is, whatever the emotion is, whatever that real human thing is, and it goes out into the world. And so it's a huge responsibility, and you could send out anything, but just know what you're sending out.
Yeah.
You can send out, it may be pain, it may be sorrow, it may be love, it may be joy, it may be an issue, it may be a social justice, it may be anything, but be intentional about it. And if you really know why you're putting all this effort and this energy into disturbing the sound, uh, then you're gonna have the right kind of energy to see it through, and see it through with love, no matter what that emotion is. So, uh, being intentional and keeping your music authentic and in integrity, and with humility. Uh, those are the things that I've learned through my experience, from others, and also, I also think that a lot of times in this world that we live in, and especially now with social media, we tend to look for the answers to the external. We look out for what we can do. We look out for advice. We look out for inspiration, and that's great for inspiration, perhaps, and guidance. But the real answers are when you go in, and you're the only one that can really, when you take the time to just meditate on, okay, what is this, and you'll know what to do, and you'll know how to do it if you go inside. So a lot of those pieces of advice come from that way for me. I'm not saying it comes from me. It's just it's like going into source.
Yeah.
Is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah. Someone said it's an inside job,
Mm,
you know.
nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's why I like these conversations so much
Mm,
because everybody feels what you just said and they talk about it differently because, we're all different individuals and we've had
yeah.
different experiences. But
Hmm.
we all mention those things, those a presence of and state of mind of ethics and humility and truth, and we're all working on that over and over and over again. And of course, it doesn't have to be only in music, but because we're musicians, we are lucky that we get to use music as the tool through which to work these things.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's all music and it's all life. It's I the more experience I have in this lifetime and whatever I've brought in with me from others, uh, I realize I understand that it's all just one thing.
yeah,
When I make music, I'm just making life, and when I make life, I'm just making music. You know, it's
nice,
just all the it's just all the same. It's just all one thing.
nice. Let's see. Adam Levine says, "Hey John, is your amazing dad and mom still in Branson?"
They're still in Branson, Missouri. That's right. Yeah, they're doing good. My dad's just wrote the music for another show, and he's playing the show now somehow. I think they're doing social distancing in the theater, or whatever they're
Ah,
doing.
wow.
Uh, and they're hanging. They're doing good. They're vibrant, and that's one good thing. With this situation, I've been able to talk to them a lot more often. And definitely making that effort to do that.
Yeah.
My my mom told me so. She said, "You know what your Mother's Day present's going to be to me?" And I said, "No, I didn't know." And she said, "What are you going to call me every day?" And it's been so great. It's been so wonderful.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's nice.
Hmm.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's really nice. Yeah.
So that's my wife.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi, Mrs. Daversa.
Hmm.
Tom Meek says hello.
Yo, Tom,
And he said, so does Lois Mossgrove.
Lois. See the family.
La Familia.
Hmm.
And Sandy Cummings, who's a singer in Santa Barbara, she would like to know, did you play for Renee Olstead at one time?
Yeah, I was Renee's musical director for a number of years there when she first started after her first record came out with David Foster. And so we traveled all over the world together
Ah,
uh, and played a lot of shows, and she's singing on the Kaleidoscope Eyes record. She sings "Do You Want to Know a Secret," and which was nominated for a Grammy because of her.
oh, wow.
Uh, and and she definitely was a big part of the way that arrangement came to me.
Uh-huh.
And she also sings on "Good Day Sunshine." But she is my sister, my little sister.
Did she have her big band arrangements already on from her first record, or did you do those?
No, on the record, I was not on the scene yet. Billy Childs did one, I remember,
Oh,
and John Clayton did
yeah,
a couple.
yeah,
And then after that, I wrote a few for her, but just for the live shows.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Um, let's see. Well, Adam, I think John actually answered that maybe before you came on. He said, "What did you learn about music and the trumpet from your dad?" You
Mm.
kind of answered that already, right?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it comes through the DNA.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
sometimes I hear myself play, and I go, man, you know, just you can't. There's no way I could even get away from that. That came right from Dad, uh, and then it's just in the little conversations, and that's one of the real gifts of being from a musical family is that not only are my parents always talking about music, uh, and kind of breaking it down and uh, talking about what they hear, but also, a lot of their friends in the industry, what do they talk about? They're talking about music, so, or they're even talking about the music business. So, I've learned so much from just observing kind of as a listener, uh,
Yeah.
just those influences and seeing what they've experienced. My dad, you know, he's such a creative being, and there was a portion of his career where I think he felt a bit trapped by just having to work and
Yeah.
not being able to find balance with creativity and just making a living. So as a young kid, I certainly looked at that part too, and I said, okay, I don't want to fall into that trap, and I want to make sure that I can, as much as I'm aware, be in control of how I sculpt, uh, you know, how I find balance in my life.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. Um, Sorry, there's just a few more comments. Mon David is saying, true, the inner journey and artistic vision, which doesn't need external validation. Yeah, he's a huge fan of
Yeah,
yours.
that's boy the recognition thing and the judgment thing and the comparing to others. That's a lot easier said than done.
Yeah.
And a lot of this moment where we can't play for each other except online, what a great moment to check ourselves on that.
Yeah.
You know, why am I making this music? It's because I just have to express this this emotion, this sound bubble, right? That's disturbing the sound, or am I doing it because I need approval from others or that recognition? Uh, and we all kind of go up and down and through and inside and behind those things, and but to do that with awareness is really important.
Yeah, I agree. I find myself now desiring to reach out to people. Well, also, I'm because I'm not the greatest piano player. I mean, I play for myself and then I get bored, basically. And I picked up my flute again after many years, and I've been
Right on.
enjoying, the whole, sound and
Yeah,
physical feeling and stuff.
yeah, yeah.
I've actually been playing over and over Louisa, which is just such a great flute piece, really just beautiful. But yeah, so I find myself actually at this moment in time reaching out to a few people to make some music together, and it's a nice feeling because it's not for a gig, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? There's
yeah.
not a gig that I'm calling up somebody, would you, could you, how much do you want, all of those things. But it's rather just, hey, would you like to, send me something and I'll sing over it. And actually, John Leftwich did something for me, which was lovely. So, Barry Zweig had died at the beginning of COVID, right before it took off. And a few weeks later, I wrote, I just woke up one morning and I wrote a whole song for him. And and then John said, "Hey, let's record it." And he said, he has like a little area that I can come into his studio with no, no, social distancing is already built in. And then we sent it to Pat Kelly, and Pat Kelly put beautiful guitar on it, and John put some bass. And then last week, I actually made an iMovie, and it came out really beautifully. And it was just,
Oh wow.
yeah, it was, it was a different kind of expression. I mean, I'm always, you know, projects, I think projects have a particular feeling of that. You're in love with it, or you're obsessed with it, or you're interested in it. But I guess because of the space happening right now and the calmness and like living in your house, there's your house, you're aware of what's in your house, you're aware of your family, you know, and then so for this to kind of rise to the surface and be really interested in creating something of beauty, you know,
Yeah.
is really nice. And so I've been getting in touch with a few players and saying, hey, can you send me something, or let's talk about something. And actually, Cho Yun Sung in Korea, he and I are gonna do something again, because we had done a record together. So
That's beautiful, Kathy.
it's fun.
Really great.
Yeah. Yeah, speaking of,
We're here to create, you know,
yeah, all of
one
us.
way or the other.
Yeah, and this idea, I've read this in one of the books I've been reading, but other people have brought it up too. So it's definitely an idea that's not just, a singular idea, but the idea that curiosity is creativity. I just love that. I mean, anybody has that, right?
I've told this story before. I love the idea of curiosity and wonder,
Yeah.
because I think that that's such a key point for any artist slash human being living in this world. uh, but my uncle Kent, I remember he was visiting my folks in Branson actually,
Huh.
and he was up really early in the morning, and I saw him outside, and he was staring at the fence, just at sunrise, and a cup of coffee, staring at the fence. And I said, that's kind of weird, but I went up and took a shower, and then I came in, and I saw through the window he was still there staring at the fence. Got dressed, came out, saw him in the window, still staring at the fence. So I went outside and I said, what you doing, Uncle Kent? and and uh, and he was fascinated because he was staring at this spider web, and he was watching the spider, go through all this geometry, all this sacred geometry, and he was telling me all the different, moves that the spider made, and his telling of it was like that wonder of a child discovering something for the first time, and how many times have we walked by a spider web and not experience that kind of curiosity and that wonder in something that is magical and one. I mean, how does that even happen? How do they know how to do that? Uh, so I think about that a lot when sometimes I'll catch myself walking by a spider web and try to see that metaphor. What else did I walk by and didn't notice, and stay curious and for the small things that we may not that we may take for granted.
Yeah.
Stay curious.
Stay curious. Yeah. Um, and Taylor says, knowing that you have a character, oh, with great integrity and tenderness, nice. How do you keep yourself inspired to be true to yourself as an individual?
Hmm. Yeah, I don't know. Uh,
Have a cup of
uh,
coffee.
uh, I think you have to just keep, as we were talking about at the beginning of our discussion, continue to have the courage to continuously walk through the fire and look at, okay, what are the things that no longer serve? And let's get to the core of what I really want to have in this experience that I'm having right now. Uh, and perhaps when things get comfortable, that's when you have to look again and go, okay, uh, how am I going to push myself to go deeper and dive deeper? Uh, and the inspirations are all around us, everywhere, if you choose to look at them, if you choose to expand your perspective and your awareness. And also, I definitely do my best to make time to go within as well, and clear that space, uh, so that I can download thoughts that are not mine and that are no one else's either. Like just again going to source to keep myself honest.
Yes. Um, I would like to uh, listen to something else. Do you mind?
No,
And
how's this?
that's good. Hey, share computer sound is still on, John.
Good.
So let's see.
Your desktop looks like mine. Mine's worse than that actually.
Oh yeah, mine's. I keep trying to, like make it. Yeah, it's all right. I have all these really cool images here. Like, uh, check this out. Isn't that cool?
Yeah,
Yeah.
years at work.
Okay. So, should we watch and listen again to what you were directing me towards? I mean, the progressive big band, or what shall we do?
Sure. Uh,
I saw her standing there.
sure. Sure. That's a fun one.
Okay. Here we go.
Projection, the act of rejecting the here and now. Living underground, refuse to peruse all the fruit, witness all around. I'm falling down the rabbit hole, I'm fallible. Real virility, lost in past facilities. To live in a world of infinite possibilities. I savor a lust for the same, a page from the sage of the industrial age. 100 ways the Hunger Games are no longer changed. Drawing blood from the tip of where the stinger sits. Your gravity or remedies, malaise at my fingertips. The moment I can taste it, touch and meditate upon. I waited long, then made a song through my traveling, unraveled. Then directed like a javelin. Serious theories appear from my experience. Before I waste away, erase my hands and embrace the day. Before I waste away, erase my hands and embrace the day. I sit stillness till this emptiness persists. You'll listless and regret. Live without a net will represent willful intent. The only way to connect is inadequate actions with those I find attractive. Fashionable, irrational, feeling bad for when I see the passion fold. All told in a fold of plasticine. Unruly is a beauty predicated on fashion magazines. Drastic fallacies, paralyzed by a pair of eyes. This was my reality, disavowing knowledge to those who value me. Lines of hell for something else uncertain. There's a wizard behind the curtain, a force that's unseen with a porcelain sheen. Perfectly fulfilling, y'all feeling, never ending, never beginning. The ultimate form of atonement, emotionally disrobed. It's there she was nonetheless, effortless, unassisted. I can't say she descended when she always existed. From lying prostrate, I ascended somebody could no longer feel the weight of the human body. I returned in original form is restored. Is the happily ever after when there never was a before? I return in original form is restored. Is the happily ever after when there never was a before? A before, 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 a before.
She was just 17. You know what I mean. She wouldn't dance with another.
There she was, nonetheless, effortless, unassisted. I can't say she descended when she always existed.
She wouldn't dance with another.
There she was, nonetheless, effortless, unassisted. I can't say she descended when she always existed.
She wouldn't dance with another.
There she was, nonetheless, effortless, unassisted. I can't say she descended when she always existed. Always existed.
Holy moly. Wow. That was amazing.
Cathy Buckingham.
He's incredible. I love his what do you call it? Rapping. Amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty special that he's able to. I mean, the lyrics that he writes are really brilliant,
Yeah.
and then to be able to come up and improvise on the saxophone like he does,
Oh yeah.
that's a pretty rare thing. Gene Coy on the drums,
Oh yeah. Gene Coy,
Jerry Watts
Barry Watts,
on the bass.
everybody. I mean, that whole band is brilliant. Jeff Driscoll, I saw was conducting for it.
Jeff, yeah.
And so, how does it vary? But I'm sure it does because of the difficulty of the piece. But how long does it take you to prepare for a show like that? Do you rehearse several times, or I'm sure everybody's a really good reader too.
They are. Well, we still haven't figured out how to play most of this stuff, myself included. You know, uh, no, I think that I had written these things, and I would yeah. So I would come out to L.A. I think starting in the fall, because I think that was recorded in like very first week of January. I don't know which year, uh, 6 7 years ago, and so we played him at the Potato, along the way, and I had recordings of the Frost concert jazz band playing through them
Oh,
that the musicians could at least listen to and get a vibe for the direction of the pieces, and in terms of actual rehearsal time, not much, but there was a good amount of prep and a good amount of having experience playing through things, uh, so we could at least go in and have some perspective.
um, and then I noticed major joy, and everybody. I mean, it was. I want to be part of the band. I mean, everybody
Well,
was having such a great time.
I was presenting this record to the Idlewild Summer in the Pines. I forget the name of the Jazz in the Pines. Pines
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
Jazz.
I
Yeah.
think it's jazz.
Uh, and so it's always interesting to revisit. It's almost like a detached observer, because it's not me that was part of that. It's just like this thing that happened. But the thing about that particular project, and many of the projects, but that one in particular, is that there was just so much. Everybody was there because they wanted to be part of the music. It's such a community event. Nobody was making any money on that thing. It was down in San Pedro at Alva's showroom
Oh, wow.
all day long with the filming I mean, the amount of generosity from the whole community of musicians was just palpable, and I swear when we started that first tune of the first concert, uh, there was just so much love in the room for what we were doing together. uh, it was so thick, Kathy, that I felt like the whole building was going to levitate. I, and it's not an exaggeration. Like, it felt like that to me. I can still feel it.
Wow.
It was so purposeful.
Oh, wow.
Everybody was there with, aware of the intention of it. And I'm so grateful to everyone uh, that that was part of that. It's definitely one of a strong memory I'll always keep. That's shaped who I am today.
Uh-huh. Well, it was totally stunning. I mean, the best of it, the best of all worlds come together. Really beautiful.
Thank you.
Um, that reminded me of, I mean, it not the same thing, but suddenly remembered your big band also played outside on Highland when they were doing that jazz
Oh,
series.
Hollywood and Highland, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that was great. That was great.
Thank you.
You must have played hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of places, right, with the big band.
Yeah, we've had some great experiences with the big band. It's and it's interesting with the big band because it's such a structured uh, entity. There's a certain grid that we have to follow because of the writing, right? And that's I think what fascinates me about that ensemble, because I love to write in a way that has equal parts, equal part of the writing of the band can be just completely, we don't know what's going to happen, in that spirit of true improvisation. I've got to have that, but it kind of makes sense because we all know that we're going to go to this landmark on the cue.
Right,
uh,
right.
so we always have a North Star if anything goes too wacky. Uh, which it always gets wacky. I mean, that's
Yeah.
whatever that word means. I love wacky. Uh, but we always have those landmarks to come back to. So there's good balance, opportunities between chaos and structure in the big band,
Yeah.
and I love that. And there's just something about having a lot of people involved because you have all these different characters, and uh, there's the energy level is just more, uh, and I love everybody having the opportunity to be their own person and be their own musical character within the band, and then inherently we all have to figure out how to play together too. So
Yeah.
that other polarity is chaos and structure, and it's individuality and the collective at the
And
same time.
the glue is joy.
Yeah.
Let's see. I have a few comments here. Oh, Dan DeVilla would like to hear you talk about the EVI that you have played.
Yeah, it's awesome. Uh, I started playing the EVI in the late '80s. I saw Michael Brecker play it,
Oh,
and I said, several expletives, and like that is cool. Uh, and and this goes back to my dad too. He saw that I was so interested in that thing and the possibilities that uh, it had, and my folks didn't have, that was a moment for them where they were really struggling financially, and I don't know how he found the money to buy this thing, but he found a used one and surprised me, on remember I don't know if they still have the recycler in LA. I think you go
oh
on the
gosh,
recycler.
I don't think so.
Um, and this, so somebody had something in the box and shipped it down to LA, and Dad got me the CVI,
Huh.
with like the last penny that they had.
Oh,
Uh, and I just started practicing that thing every day, because I saw it as an additional voice, uh, another voice. I didn't see it as a trumpet at all. It's another instrument that is completely individual to itself, the sound that it makes, uh, and the possibilities. So I never approached it like a trumpet. And I think a lot of people, uh, a lot of trumpet players in particular, brass players, didn't like playing it because it didn't feel like a trumpet and didn't sound like a trumpet, and because it had nothing to do with a trumpet.
yeah, right.
Uh, but that's the part that I really loved, because
Yeah.
trumpet's hard enough, and to be able to have a kind of a departure from that was very interesting to me. So I just started practicing it like crazy, uh, and started to really hone in on a particular voice with it, uh, and I love that thing, and I played the same instrument for a long time, and it's always had, at the end of every solo, it has this glitch where it heats up, and I lose half the notes. You know, I can play between C and G, and then I lose G and C up above.
Ah,
And so which creates some other possibilities and opportunities.
yeah, yeah.
Uh, but it's gotten even worse since I've moved to Florida because of the humidity. So within this last year, I can't tell you the excitement and the gratitude that I have. Johan, a gentleman in Sweden, is making these again, along with Mark Steiner, who is Niall Steiner's nephew. Uh, And so I'm endorsing their new, it's called the new EVI, NU-EVI. And I no, I don't have it here, but, well, you'll see it soon enough. It's purple and it's got lights and it's really fun.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm able to have that, the same control that I had with the old Akai EVI. So I can't wait to. It's interesting. I've been playing, the last couple projects. I've been more acoustic in nature, and so I look forward. There's one more that I'm going to do. That's really just. It's actually a trumpet concerto of all things. So the next project, I hope to get into the EVI a little bit more, because it's a voice that in some ways I'm missing right now. I haven't been able to play a lot of EVI in recent years.
Wow. Dan, that was a good question. Zach Harmon is here. Hi.
Hi, Carmen. Wow.
Love to you both, and
To you.
curiosity is where it's at. Miss playing with both of you. Your inspiring ways. On a boat in Bremen?
Zach took a leap of faith, and yeah, we played a gig with a small band in Bremen many years ago, almost a decade. I remember on that trip, that's where I stopped drinking coffee. I remember I had an espresso. I'm drinking coffee again, by the way, but I had an espresso, and it's like, you know what? This espresso is so good. I love coffee. Like, I think about coffee, and I just like, there's that comfort thing that, but I can feel the acidity in my body, and it's like, okay, that's it. And my energy levels completely balanced out for the rest of the day, And
Yeah.
so for 7 or 8 years, I didn't drink coffee anymore until I remember it was New Year's Day, maybe a couple of years ago. I went out to breakfast with my wife and daughter, and I was just joking to my wife. I said, I'm gonna have a cappuccino. Ha ha ha. And she said, why don't you? And she called my bluff. And I realized at that moment that, just another one of those life learning moments. I said, well, why don't I? Because I realized at that moment, at that point, not drinking coffee wasn't serving me anymore, because I went through it. I stopped drinking alcohol, stopped drinking coffee, became vegetarian, really trying to take care of my energy and my body. But why am I depriving myself of something I really love if I can do it in moderation and balance? And so I ordered a cappuccino, and I just about cried. It was so good.
I wasn't drinking coffee right before the COVID, the quarantine. And I just thought, I'm going to be in the house for a few months. I'm drinking coffee. Went right back into it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's something to look at, where you're not doing something because it's not good for you, or you're doing something because you just said you're not going to do it, and you're depriving yourself of something, without being able to, to do it in awareness.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be completely one side or the other.
Yes, that sounded so wise, John.
I'm glad it sounded that way.
Let's see. Well, Kate Reed is on. Hi, Katie.
Kate Reed, my sister Kate.
Yes, and
Mangoes. So Kate has the most magical mango tree in the back of her yard.
oh,
And in our family, it's like this deity, her tree in the backyard, because it produces these mangoes that just melt.
oh, oh,
Yeah.
don't tell me, man. Mangoes are
I'm
my
telling you,
favorite
they are the color of your shirt. And
Oh.
yeah, this is special.
fruit. Kate, can you send me some? Oh my God, mango tree. Maybe I should. I wonder if mango trees would grow in LA.
I don't know.
Seriously, mangoes. I could live on mangoes. If nothing else was on the island except mangoes, I wouldn't really mind. It's kind of hard. Actually, right now, mangoes are a little less in the vicinity. So I like I got some peaches last time I went to the store and I was like, yeah. Peaches are so mild compared to mangoes, you know. That's a good
Blue
name
peaches.
for a song.
My grandfather, his dad was, they immigrated from Italy, from Sicily, and he was a vegetable peddler. They had a garden and they would raise the vegetables and the fruit and everything, and then they'd go down the wagon. And my grandfather would always say, he'd go down the wagon and say, "Watermelon, cantaloupe," Uh, but so my grandfather, he would graft fruit on all the trees. So he'd have a pear tree, and there would be three different kinds of, I'm exaggerating, but three different kinds of nectarines on the same tree, and
Huh?
apricots
Wow.
and peaches. I mean, it was an amazing. They had this small little plot of land in Whittier. Just a residence, and they used every
Huh.
square inch of that place to raise their garden was amazing, and they had chickens and they had ducks, and
Oh man.
in this little place. Amazing
Wow.
people.
Wow. Um,
There's a tangent for you.
yeah, really. Um, let's see. As an educator, this is by Taylor. He asks good questions.
He does
How do
ask
you
good
help
questions.
how do you help students discover sounds that they can apply to their own voices? That's a good question.
Yeah, I don't have a button answer for that. Number one, as an educator, it's encourage it. Uh, I definitely, my philosophy is that every one of us, every human being walking on this planet is a genius in some area.
Oh,
And I firmly believe that, uh, and it's just a matter of owning it, and because everybody has tremendous gifts and tremendous challenges, and the
yeah.
challenges are tremendous opportunities, and the gifts are what you come into this life with, and that uh, can share with others. So you kind of put all that together. So with that philosophy, whenever you're working with anyone, and the whole idea of the hierarchy of teacher and student, something that kind of rubs me. That's not how I think about it. I think about it as uh, I have maybe more experience with this than you do yet, and we're gonna have this discussion together, and we're gonna learn from each other. That's how I go at it.
Yeah.
Uh, so with that understanding, it's just a matter of kind of finding that together.
Hmm.
Uh, but more specifically, for especially for an instrumentalist, uh, one of the first musical experiences I had uh, was singing. And I don't feel that I'm not alone here. This is not a new concept, but I don't feel like uh, I have the right to play anything on the trumpet or any instrument that I can't sing already. So it's a lifelong honing of really being true to what I'm hearing in my head first, and then to put in the work to actually be able to get close to singing that translation. And if I can get close to singing that translation, then maybe I can translate that through an instrument to create, the filter of that sound from here to here to there. Uh, so, singing everything, may it be improvisational exercises, may it be scales, may it be patterns, may it be transcriptions. Uh, don't even dare to play it on your instrument until you can play it. And if you play a guitar, you can do it simultaneously. But when you do it simultaneously, you have to make sure that the guitar or the piano is not telling you the pitch first. You know, like you're not like you're. Otherwise, the piano's playing you or the guitar's playing you. So it's like I'm telling the piano what to do. The piano's not telling me what to do. I'm telling it what to do. So it's getting that honesty in check, and not playing the things that come easy instrumentally, just with facility because your fingers go somewhere. Uh, I'm not interested as a listener to hear anybody's fingers. It's part of the tool that makes the sound, but I want to know what's in the heart.
Yeah, that's cool. That's good for singers too, because like sometimes I'll teach in usually for a scat class, I will teach the students first a chromatic scale. And of course, if they don't know a chromatic scale, then I have to go slowly and have them start with the piano, teaching them the chromatic scale, and then I want them to move into them teaching the piano, the chromatic
Yeah.
scale,
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, and it's a great tool because by the time they do that, then I can get them to have a great affinity for the note they're singing against any chord at all, on a chromatic scale. I just have them hold the note and love the tension, really like soak in the tension and appreciate it. And that way, you know, students are less prone to go, oh, God, I hate that note I just sang. Yeah, why do you hate the note? Just because you're not familiar with the sensation and the hearing of it. But
Yeah.
also, what you just said just is inspirational for writing as well, because, well, I'll just speak for myself. Sometimes I will let the piano dictate what I write, which it's okay, but I usually write a lot better if I hear it first.
Yeah. I have so much reverence for that first seed of an idea, uh, and I want that to be as pure as possible. And the most pure way that I can hear the first sound is not by me trying to find the lost chord on the piano. It's just waiting and receiving,
Yeah.
and then I can try and edit it later. Uh, so I mean, I can tell you that a high percentage of everything that I've ever written has been sung and then transcribed and then massaged.
Oh,
That's the process.
that's really interesting. That's nice. Yeah. See, when it comes to a moment like this and these conversations, I always feel like running into the other room and writing a song, which is
Awesome.
good, right?
Awesome. Yeah.
Like when you feel inspired to do that. Like when I go hear live music,
Mm.
if I feel like that, if I feel like running away and starting to write, whether it's a singer or a band or anything,
Yeah.
I always take that as a good sign.
Yes. Those are wonderful moments.
How much do you think that the audience adds to your playing or the creation of what you're doing?
Mm. Wow. It varies. I put myself, okay, so I put myself in the space of being in front of an audience. There's certainly, you're absorbing, immersing in that energy that everybody's there together, and the audience members are certainly with their energy contributing to how you feel and the mood and the the experience, right? So it's, I couldn't give you a percentage, but it's in the air, and it's part of what's being reacted to. Uh, and then I think about, being in the recording studio and you're just with maybe a small group of people that you're playing with, and uh, so that energetic realm is, doesn't involve so many people, and you're just being in that moment, being present with those people, and you're reacting to that moment. So maybe uh, it's more about being present in whatever the circumstance, whatever the moment is that you're in. And if that's the case, then it's everything.
Right. I remember listening to Dave Mackay, who was blind, right? and is blind. And I remember listening to him in a hotel kind of lounge kind of place where there were people listening, but there was also the usual. And I remember him not I mean, in the most artistic way, making the blender part of the music.
Yeah.
And that really struck me. And yeah, I think when you're experiencing music in a great way, you really do take in what is present in the moment as the audience or the musician. Um, and it's yeah, I mean that's what we live for, I think, right? Those experiences.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to what we were talking about before. I mean, life is, all encompassing, and that is, all of life is all of music, and all of music is all of life. And so the blender going is part of the music, so you, you that's, that is it. That's perfectly part of what the sound is. How do you play every moment? How do you play it? How do you, there's an interview I saw Wayne Shorter giving. I think it must have been Wayne Shorter, and he was saying he was walking down, a street with Miles Davis in New York, and they saw a woman about to walk across the street with her baby, in the stroller. Just kind of an ordinary circumstance in the city, right? And Miles turned to Wayne and said, "Play that." And it's that, it's taking the ordinary but expressing it in an extraordinary way. I think is what we're talking about.
Yeah. Um, what do you do at Frost?
Uh, well, I'm the, yeah. What do I do? I'm the chair of the department, so there's a lot of administrative details to handle, and it's a big faculty. It's a bustling department and bustling school. So that's a big part of it. And then I direct the concert jazz band, the Frost Concert Jazz Band, which is the big band with extraordinary musicians and students in that group. And I also teach the a freshman improvisation class in the first semester, so I get to see all the incoming freshmen
Oh, cool.
when they first come in, which I really like, getting to meet them and get to know them musically. And then I teach a graduate composition class, so I get to know the
Oh,
graduate students in the same way. And then it'll rotate if I'll direct a small ensemble. For a few years I've led something called the Composers Collective, where all the students compose for the instrumentation that's in the group, uh, or various other things that may need to be done.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I was talking to Kate, I got a sense of what the school was like and it sounded really, really interesting. Yeah. Sounds like a great school. I mean, when people say, "Oh, yeah, no offense to Berkeley," but when they say, "Oh, yes, I want to go to Berkeley," and if they're a serious jazz player, I said, "Well, there's a few other schools you might want to think about." Frost is the one I always mention, North Texas.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's I think the real heart here is in the faculty. You know when Kate and I came in the same year, and this faculty has been together for decades. Whit Seidner was the chair for 40, I don't know how many years before I came in. I'm the second chair
wow.
here, and the way that he built uh, this powerhouse is phenomenal, and everybody is so invested. All the faculty, everyone cares about the students, and I think it's extraordinary in the sense that the faculty is they're composed of musicians that are just such high level artists, and creating such high level art, yet they're fully present with the students and fully invested with the students' experience here. Uh, to be able to balance those worlds is difficult, and I think that the faculty here, they just do a great job, and it all comes from heart, because they love what they do. They love the art that they're making, and they also really love the students that are here.
Yeah. What's the usual process of how you write? Do you write, um, I mean, obviously it changes for every project, and you have probably, you have a concept, oh, okay, this is going to be the big band, or maybe sometimes are just writing a song. Do you start these days with just writing a song, and then as the projects develop, you take the material that you have, or how does it happen?
Uh, well, usually it is certainly theme based. The last uh, 5, 6 records, it's been here's the concept. Like the American Dreamers record is a good example there. So we knew we wanted to tell the stories of the human beings that were having this particular experience, and share it. Uh, just share the human experience, uh, of student. I mean, of children that came to this country undocumented for various reasons. Uh, they're like one person came because her sister was getting medical treatment that she could only get in Houston, and then there were complications with the procedures, and so and the visas expired, and then here they were, and she ended up going to school and working here, and DACA gave her a pathway to you know to be legal, and or another, for example, another person, the family came over, and then the father left,
Yeah.
and left the children here undocumented, and there was no pathway, and all these stories that you kind of get to know the inside part of it, and it's these it's they're amazing stories. So what if we took these? What if we found musicians that were DACA recipients, and put them all together, and we took songs that were of American themed ideas, and created a record. So then you start putting together a collage of song possibilities that would be covers, uh, and then you're just going to kind of go one by one,
Yeah.
and let the music come back to you. Or with the Beatles record, I listened to every Beatles record in the middle of the night, because that was the only time that I have, and just fell in love with the music again, and read and watched every interview of all the musicians, and just fully immersed, and then at a certain point you just kind of let go, and the music just starts coming back to you, through your own filter. Uh, and at that point, I mean, the schedule and the life that I've been living, especially in the last 7, 8 years, I'm always traveling all the time, and it's so busy here at the university, and I'm also trying always to stay present with my family at home. Uh, so the time that I have to write is on an airplane, honestly. So I'm always writing in the airport, and on the plane, and in transit, to the car, that voice memo, and then transcribing it, and you just kind of figure it out, note to note.
Wow.
Yeah, it's not the ideal way to do it, but that's what it's
Right,
doing.
but that's how that's what you learned, and you adapted, and I mean, and you're successful at it, so it's working, right?
Uh, yeah, I mean, to varying degrees.
Yeah.
I've been productive, I suppose. That's the better way to put it.
Uh, see,
Isn't that an interesting question? What is being successful mean?
yeah, well, yeah, and that's true. And but I mean, my idea, especially after talking to all these people, because some are more well known and some are, less well known, but everybody is successful in the fact that they've come through their life, they've put one foot in front of the other, and they've noticed things along the way, and they've been curious, creative. They've created things, they've accepted things, worked with them, and then in the present moment, they feel good. They feel like, yeah, I've been doing what I want to do, and it's worked, and on and on. And I was just talking to somebody, one of my sweet young friends, and I was telling her she was kind of worried about what she had done. She had moved recently, and she was worried that she had made a wrong choice, because of all this, the COVID and stuff. And I just said, you know what? You're a good person. You're smart. This is the time to have faith. Just keep walking forward and have faith, and it will work. And I've seen her do this before too, and seen her like be questioning the other move, the earlier move, and same thing happened. She finally decided, okay, I'm doing it, and she kept doing it, and then it was a success. It worked. So I think the word success is, you know, I mean, for people like us, I don't think it means, you know, you're like famous. I don't think that's.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe it's in, as you're saying that, I'm thinking about, it's integrity and character. When you do fall down, do you still know who you are, and how you are? How do you get up? How do you get up?
Yeah.
Do you get up? and,
Right.
and then how do you get up?
Yeah, it's really
Uh,
that.
that's I always think about humility being, when you've won that award, you've received whatever recognition, but you still, you know who you are.
Yeah.
It doesn't change anything. It's just it's a nice acknowledgement,
Yeah.
and you appreciate that external recognition. Uh, that's that's humility. True, not fake
Yeah.
humility, but like real humility. And then integrity is when you've been knocked down and you're on your lowest dollar, uh, uh, and no one seems to be supporting. Do you still know who you are, though? Do you still have the integrity of knowing exactly who you are? Because that's what's going to enable you to have the strength to get up again.
Yeah. You're reminding me of Elizabeth Gilbert wrote, she was the one who wrote Eat, Sleep, and Pray, and which was a huge
Yeah.
success.
Mhm.
And then she wrote Big Magic, which I read, which was wonderful,
Mm.
basically about giving yourself permission to be creative.
Mm.
And she had so many good. She's very easy to read, and she had a lot of great things in there. But one thing she was talking about was when well, first of all, that she made a commitment years and years ago that she was a writer and she was going to write every day. So what that did, that was an amazing thing because sometimes like she would start something and then she'd be excited and then the next thing that would happen was she'd be annoyed or bored, she'd want to put it down, but she had made a commitment to write every day. So she the next day or two, then she was back on the creative
Mhm.
side. So she knew every time she started a project, when that bad feeling would come, she knew it was just part of the process,
Yeah, yeah.
So that was one thing. But the other thing was she talked about how Eat, Sleep, and Pray was such a big, it got so much notice that again, because she had committed to write every day, she got through what happened from it and after it, because she was not that she was so impressed with herself, but she had to look at within herself and see what else she had. Do I have more to say? And then, of course, other people's perspective of that. They were expecting the next eat, sleep, and pray, and maybe she wasn't going to come up with that.
Mhm.
And yeah, it was yeah, really. eh, Again, that's and you were mentioning integrity, and I feel like integrity is part of that too. It's like the commitment, the commitment. Um, there's something in that, your commitment to it. Maybe
Yeah.
integrity is inside commitment. I don't know.
Mm.
I like integrity. It feels good to even, conceive of it.
Yes. Yes, indeed.
Yeah,
Gratitude, humility, integrity with no expectation. That's my formula.
with no expectation.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I have this thing on my wall that I came across when I was doing a workshop, a 5-day workshop. I created a 5-day workshop here.
Mm.
I had about, I don't know, 12 students, 15 students, and I had not only myself teaching, I had other people. Michelle Weir was here and Jamie Finley and you know. And anyway, so one of these things I created and then one somebody brought me, but one was show up, observe, be honest, don't plan the outcome.
Mm.
And these things they happen fast, right? I mean, it's like in a microsecond that happens. Show up, observe,
Yeah.
be honest, and don't plan the outcome.
The don't plan the outcome and the no expectation. It's a subtle thing because uh, just to clarify the way that I think that the way that it works for me is that it's so important to have an intention and to have a direction
Right.
and to go at that direction and that intention with every cell of your body. Uh, all the mojo. That's the mojo that's going to take you to that North Star. But
Yeah.
but inside of the process, to stay open to as you're going toward that destination, there's something over here that you never knew was going to come up.
Right.
That because you were going in this direction, you saw it in your peripheral, and this thing is actually really the thing, and you know it in here, but you don't know it because you're going after this. But not to ignore it just because you're so fixed on this direction. And then you go here, and then that takes you to the next thing. So it's staying open-minded uh, to the possibilities while having intention.
Yeah. And then where does the expectation come in? Or the no expectation? Does it come in with the intention?
Well, the no, I mean the expectation is that things are going to happen exactly how it's going to happen. You don't know what's going to happen. Everything is unknown. It's funny when this whole quarantine thing
Yeah.
started and all of our lives have been turned upside down. I mean, the reality is, none of us knew what was going to happen tomorrow. We just thought we did,
Right.
and in a way, how I'm just saying for myself. I mean, how arrogant to think that I knew what was going to happen
Yeah.
tomorrow.
No, I
But I,
feel,
that, I mean, it's something to look at. I had an expectation that the sun was going to come out tomorrow
yeah.
for me.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. I mean, that's not really. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, for me.
Yeah.
But I still need to have a direction, and I still need to have a purpose and an intention. That if the sun does come up tomorrow, this is really the direction I want to go. If it doesn't, I get it. That's it.
Well, that's improvisation as well, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. And that's another reason why I think jazz people are lucky because they get to experience improvisation all the time And it's so hugely important in life to be capable of that, you know?
Yeah, it puts an awareness on it, so we can really watch it intently, perhaps more than, uh, it's a vocation to be present, to listen for the blunder.
I like that.
We,
It's a vocation to be present. Wait, I have to write that down. That's a great quote. It's a vocation to be present. I like that. Okay, sorry. I'm sorry. I just had to do that. So every now and then I have to write down quotes that people say. Yeah, go ahead.
and listen for the blunder.
Right? Listen for the blender. That's a good
Just
quote
just
too.
be ready. Just be
Yeah.
ready for the blunder because it's going to be there, or it won't.
Or it won't.
Hmm. Everything, this world we live in is dualistic. We live in a world of duality and polarity, and so everything exists and nothing exists, and where there's love, there's fear, and where there's joy, there's heartbreak, and
Yeah.
we have to be able to look at both to be able to understand the other side. We have to understand what what something dark is to understand what light is, and to appreciate both sides. Everything's got the opposite.
I agree with you.
We've always been here, and we've never been here.
Yeah, yeah, that's so true. And actually, that's come up for me. I was making a video for my new single coming out, and it's Inner City Blues make me want to holler, which has been, it's from my one of my Desert Island records, which is What's Going On by Marvin Gaye. And
Yeah.
why I was taking pictures to, put into the movie, and it was interesting to observe some of my pictures were, you know, of things that are depressing, and some were angry and some were beautiful, and I just noticed that. I noticed it was like, oh, when do I come in with the beauty? Because I want to come in with everything because, uh, I always have hope, right? And I think hope is, you know, you need to have hope always, no matter what's happening, right? And hope is pretty powerful. So, yeah, it's pretty cool what you just said, yeah, about the balance, and it's all here. And I get to see that more and more
Mm.
in reading and thinking and talking and music
Nice.
balance. It's all the same lesson, right? I have a quote here from my friend Leslie Zerla. It's pretty cute, Leslie. I don't know who said it. All skills, all skill is in vain if an angel pisses in the flintlock of your musket. That's a good quote,
Very
Les.
good. Very good. I like that.
Um, let's see. Can we listen to something else? Should we listen
Sure.
to, what should we
You
listen
want
to?
to you want to hear some EVI stuff?
Yeah.
There's a video from the Blue Whale from the small band from years ago
Okay.
called Some Happy Shit. Speaking of joy,
So, some happy shit.
yeah, there it is. Yeah, that first one there.
Okay,
It's a
great.
small band you were talking about, and 18 minutes long. I mean, you don't have to listen to the whole thing, but it's a good snapshot of that band.
Okay, cool. Wow. Okay, well, I'm gonna actually, I hate to leave. I'm gonna have to listen to this myself. I don't want to keep you on too much longer, because you're a busy person and you've given a lot of time here, which has been great. We're coming to the end of 2 hours, believe it or not. I feel like, I feel I could just hang out and talk for a long time because I love your ideas and, it's just nice to have a calm, beautiful conversation with you.
Thank you, Kathy. I really appreciate what you're providing to the musician community by providing these noontime uh, experiences, and it's a chance for all of us to connect and bond with each other, and to provide this platform for us is very generous. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Let's see, I'm just going to look a little bit more. Okay. Well, Tim Weston is here too, by the way.
Tim Weston. Wow. Hey, Tim.
We had a great conversation too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm having great conversations everywhere. People, you can go to archives and actually hear all of these. And Anthony Wilson, I had a great conversation. I mean, everybody does, but sometimes it gets a little deeper and which I really like. And anyway, there are archives. There's a link, and if you lose it for some reason, you can go to my website and see the archive link. Only thing is, it's on Dropbox, so if you want to see the whole 2 hours, you have to download it, listen, and do whatever you want to do, and you can, of course, delete it on your computer afterwards if you want to save the space. But and then just real briefly, I will tell you guys. And tomorrow, you're too young probably. Well, I don't know. Maybe though you heard some rock and pop stuff, but in the times of the kind of the cool rock bands happening, like in the 70s, I guess. Yeah, in the 70s, there was a band called Rhinoceros. They were pretty big, and the singer was John Finley, and he's still singing, and he's a friend of mine. He lives in Canada, and so he's going to be on tomorrow. Um,
Awesome.
yeah, and Iona Morris, who is an actress and director of TV. I think she's directed Black Like Me on TV. She's also a singer, and her father was the black actor in Mission Impossible years ago. I forget his name. Probably was something Morris. Then Judy Rafat from Germany, and Randy Crenshaw, studio singer, Bobby Shue, one of your tribe.
Send my love.
I will, and Vinnie Golia ending the week. So it's going to be a really fun week next week. And thank you, John Daversa. Just love you. And you have a website, which I've listed. And yeah, anything you want
Love
to
you too. Thank you, Kathy. Really appreciate getting to spend the time with you.
thank you. Do you have anything to say to the people, or do you want to say anything?
To the people, I love you. That's all we need.
All we need is love.
There you go.
Thanks, man. Have a great day.
You too.
All right. Bye bye.
Bye.